Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland, and in this video I'm going to debate whether the Falklands belong to Argentina. So first of all, I shall be the proposition. So, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the House, the motion before the House is that this House believes that the Falklands belong to Argentina. Well, first of all, let's get it right. It's Las Malvinas. So we will not use that inapposite name, incorrect name. It's a colonial imposition, and the very least that Argentina deserves is the proper name of the country being used, not just in the Spanish language, but in all languages. So the very use or misuse of the word Falklands is part of this misappropriation of what is an integral part of the Argentine Republic, is sovereign Argentine territory, or Argentine sovereign territory, I ought to say. So really, since they were first settled, the islands were Argentine, and prior to that Spanish. But of course, Argentina was part of the Spanish Empire. It is now a successor state of the Spanish Empire, and Spain fully recognises Argentine sovereignty over the Falklands. So one sometimes encounters this completely specious argument that the islands, well, they could go back to Spain, but not to Argentina because it was Spaniards first set foot of them, blah, blah, blah. Argentina has inherited Spain's rights, and Spain has given its imprimatur to that. So they patently are Argentine, closer to Argentina than mainland Argentina than any other country. It's completely illogical that the United Kingdom should possess isles which are so very far away from her. Argentina wouldn't be allowed to own islands just off the coast of the United Kingdom. The very idea would be the height of absurdity. The United Nations supports Argentina by an overwhelming vote on this issue, as do all other countries in the region, such as Chile, formerly the mortal foe of Argentina. But even those two have buried the hatchet, and Chile has thrown her weight behind Argentina. Let bygones be bygones. So there's regional solidarity in that one. I can't name a single country which would lend its vote to the United Kingdom in this dispute. So people will say, blah, 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 oh, those in the Falkland Islands voted to remain a crown dependency of the United Kingdom. The very expression crown dependency emphasises how anachronistic this whole farce is. It really is the worst element of colonialism which has somehow survived in the 21st century. It's rebarbative, is a nauseating expression, and it emphasises how this has no place in the modern and democratic world. Right, this is part of the Republic of Argentina. The wishes of a few people who are there, settlers, British illegal immigrants who brought there, in some cases a few generations ago, are irrelevant. That does not extinguish the absolute and unfettered right of Argentina to claim what is her own land. And this is settled in international law, that immigrants are brought in deliberately to people an area to make it living space for the United Kingdom. Their wishes do not count. They're very few. They can be repatriated to the United Kingdom or indeed accept Argentine citizenship. And one of them has gone to Argentina and done just that. It would be better for the United Kingdom too if this whole thing were resolved. This nonsensical claim were dropped. This delusion of grandeur, this ridiculous neo-imperial fantasy were put to bed. It needs to be consigned to the skip of history. It's too expensive for the British to be there. What on earth are they doing? Defending themselves in somebody else's land? The British don't care about national sovereignty. They didn't care about that when they invaded scores of countries around the globe. Only about 14 countries in the world haven't been invaded by the British, who are hyper-aggressive and always land-grabbing other people's home. They didn't care about it in Iraq and Afghanistan when they attacked in recent years. It was, again, something that was very fascinating to see how the United Kingdom wouldn't even allow the Falkland Islanders to reside in the United Kingdom until the 1980s. So they didn't consider themselves to be British, but when it came to 1982, when Argentina attempted to reintegrate her national territory to liberate this land which is under illegal military occupation, the British suddenly said, oh, this is under the red, white and blue flag and all that drivel. And that fascist tyrant, Thatcher, launched her war of aggression. And actually, the so-called Iron Lady was not Boudica as she portrayed herself. quite apart from her public persona, in some ways she was expedient. She sent Nicholas Ridley, one of her government ministers, to Switzerland in 1980 with his wife to check into the same hotel as an Argentine diplomat and his wife, so they could secretly parley over the future of the Falklands. And they were doing it in this hotel in Switzerland, pretending they just bumped into each other in case the press got a hold of it. It was utterly duplicitous. That's how two-faced Margaret Thatcher is. But, you know, she could have maintained the peace. But oh no, 1,000 youths had to die just so Thatcher could win re-election, just to distract attention from the mass unemployment her vicious monetarist policies forced on some of the industrial cities of her own country. So that's that. The Argentine claim to the Falkland Islands, to Las Malvinas, is inassailable in law, in justice, in equity, in a democracy. So the sooner the British renounce their claim, the better. And then it will restore amity between the two countries, it will save the UK money, and it will avoid unnecessary bloodshed. And I pray that nobody else loses their life over this illegal, immoral, and completely outdated British claim to Argentine territory. Right, so now I'm going to be the opposition. So, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the House, this motion really is an absurdity, because the Falkland Islands are British historically, politically, economically, in every other sense. The British case is absolutely watertight. This is British sovereign territory. It's a crown dependency, that is the technical term. There's a certain taxonomy for British overseas territories that some people are unfamiliar with. And they're not been declared to be part of the United Kingdom, which just shows how democratic it is. The UK could have forcibly integrated it into the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom doesn't do that. The Falkland Islands, they're internally self-governing, but being so far from a larger country and having such a minuscule population of only around 2,000 persons, they rely on the United Kingdom for defence and foreign affairs. These people are overwhelmingly of British stock. They're more British than the mainland British, as it were. And that's that, and it's been like that for almost 2 centuries. Well, the very name Falklands tells you all you need to know. Named after Falkland Sound initially, named after a Scottish aristocrat who was a prominent 17th century politician who was a Treasury minister. So there's been a continuous British presence there since the early 19th century. I remember dipping into a book about this when I was 16, when I was sort of my Irish nationalist phase, and the battle for the Falklands, and desperately wanting to think if I could concoct some argument to claim that the UK's presence in the Falklands was illegal or not grounded in logic. But I remember arriving unwillingly at the opposite conclusion. So the people there are British, wish to remain British. They had a plebiscite held on a completely fair basis. The pro-Argentine side were given free rein to put their case, and yet it was 99% to stay connected to the United Kingdom. So, for all sorts of reasons, as I say, because of historical ties, the British have had a continuous presence. The Argentine or Spanish claim is flimsy at best. We're often not there for ages. There were other people who were there, French people were there, and so on. Whereas it has effectively been governed by the British for a very long time, and people died for it. The UK can't give this away because this sacred soil has been sanctified with the blood of hundreds of British and indeed Gurkha soldiers who laid down their lives to defend this loam from the Argentine fascist junta. So there can be no negotiation. The United Kingdom strove to be reasonable. Thatcher bent over backwards to accommodate the Argentine claim and thought, okay, we'll do lease back. And she desperately strove to avoid war. You've got to give her credit for that. She was no monger, but she wanted to be a peacemaker, saying, okay, we could do lease back, we'll transfer sovereignty to Argentina, but you lease it back to us, or we'll give it to you in 99 years' time, by which time every current resident will be dead, and in turn you'll recognise the United Kingdom ruling until that time. Despite British good faith and these genuine efforts to arrive at an equitable solution, Argentina invaded. It was simply because the military dictatorship in Argentina could no longer hang on to power by kidnapping and torturing her own people by the tens of thousands, could no longer take them for helicopter rides and drop them into the Atlantic in sufficient numbers in order to cow the people into submission. So General Leopoldo Galtieri, the Generalissimo, played his last card and launched this madcap invasion of British territory, and obviously they were thrashed. So the Argentines should be exceedingly grateful to the British for defending their own, because when the military dictatorship in Argentina was defeated, it lost face, it fell, and democracy was restored. So Thatcher ought to be a heroine of Argentina and not a villain, according to them. Distance means nothing. Many countries old islands far flung from themselves. The United States, which leans towards Argentina on this issue, well, look at the United States. She's got islands, US territories in the Pacific Ocean, thousands of miles from the United States herself. And note, these are territories of the USA, not states of the USA. Something analogous to the Falklands situation vis-a-vis the United Kingdom. So, why would the Falkland Islanders wish to be part of Argentina, which has got a dark history of military dictatorship and which is far less prosperous than the United Kingdom? Right, the UN has voted in its General Assembly about this. Well, I'm afraid that says nothing. There are all sorts of votes here and there, and that carries no weight. It's only the UN Security Council can pass binding resolutions, and there have been not a single UN Security Council resolution against the United Kingdom's position. The Falklands as British is older than most sovereign states, is older than most UN members. So the United Kingdom is packed with tyrannies. Why on earth should we pay any account to what a vicious tyrant would say and give that greater weight than democracy? And there in Falkland Islands, they have freedom of expression, they have free and fair elections, they have human rights, they've not had an execution for well over a century, they have no torture. It's really paradisical compared to Argentina even now. So, and it is very much in the United Kingdom's interest to remain there, and that's the motive that dare not speak its name, national interest. The Argentines assert this. Why should Britishers not do likewise? It might be useful. There may be oil off the sea, offshore there, under the sea. It could have strategic value in a future conflict, and indeed it did in the First World War and the Second World War. So the Argentines haven't had anywhere there since the 1830s. If Argentina is allowed to claim back everything she had in the 1830s, are the British? Does India belong to the United Kingdom? And if not, then it must automatically follow that the Falklands do not belong to Argentina. So that's it. There's an absolute slam dunk case for the British. The Falkland Islands are British sovereign territory for the reasons I've outlined. And let me reiterate them, because that's what the people there want, because the historic claim of the United Kingdom to the Falkland Islands is completely unquestionable, because it's much better for the people of the Falkland Islands to be a crown dependency than to belong to Argentina, and because of Argentina's unprovoked aggression, crime must not pay. I beg to oppose.